Welcome to dinner at the RoundTablePodcast with DJ John Tavar, Nelly Nell, Chris Ryder, and Bodega the DJ on the ones and twos. Your source to knowledge. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Dinner at the Roundtable. At Dinner at the Roundtable.
GG, I am DJ John Tavar. Then at the Roundtable Podcast with Nelly Nell, Chris Ryder, Bodega the DJ, but they're not really here right now. Tonight really is a special segment. I'm going to be talking about the UBI. For those who may not know what that mean, it is the Universal Basic Income. And I know that I spoke about it, a couple of times in the podcast, but I want to get more in depth about the whole concept of the UBI. Just kind of like, really talk more in depth about it. I think many people have heard of it, but I'm not really familiar of what is the UBI and the history behind that idea. And, the UBI actually been, that idea just didn't basically came out the blue. That idea has been around for centuries already. In fact, in 1795, Thomas Paine actually, talked about having a dividend for a society, meaning a share of the nation's wealth. Everyone that lives in the nation should be entitled to the nation's wealth. And in fact, even Napoleon, it was kind of crazy when I did my research. He basically said at one time that, you should be entitled by birthright to have a share of the earth's produce, to fulfill your needs. And that's kind of crazy hearing it from Napoleon, but I got more familiar with the UBI about 15 years ago. I really started to learn more about it, did my research. And at a time like, the way it is right now with the economy, I think it's a step forward, really. You know what I'm saying? You think about it, it's a step forward because, I think it's very evident that, this economy right now, the way we live in right now, it's just not working no more. The poverty rate is just basically, is going through the roof. And we have to have some sort of a different alternative, to put it that way, to really, alleviate some of the problems that are, occurring right now in our current system. So, I want to talk about the UBI. So, the first question I get, what does the UBI mean, really, right? And what I really want to ask people, are people today really living their life to their fullest potential? Or they're just basically trapped into the system that they're financially obligated to meet their needs in order to survive in this world? Because we still live under the idea that we have to earn a living in order to survive. So that's the question that I always bring up to people, about, are you really living your fullest potential? Many people really stumble on that question. They stop and really think about it, because, that's one thing that sometimes, we don't really get the time to really think about. Because, again, we're so caught up, we definitely have to, work. We have to make sure that we make ends meet because that's the way we survive, So that's the question I always bring up to people. So I'm going to break down quickly how does, the whole concept with the UBI. So when you think about the word dividend, what is the word dividend? Dividend basically is a sum of money that's paid regularly to by a company, meaning to its shareholders who actually have shares in that company. And whatever profit they makes, they have to pay, a part of that to the shareholders, and that's called a dividend. And when you think about it, really, every citizen in this country is a shareholder. Because the citizens, we make this country what it is. The U.S. is the most diverse country in the world. We are still the richest nation in the world. We have more millionaires, more billionaires than any other country in the world. But yet we have the highest poverty rate than any other First Nation in the world. So again, it brings up the question that the system is not working. So, one thing about poverty, I think is a no-brainer. Poverty definitely generates crimes. And it's just something that is getting worse and worse and worse. So we got to really understand that we have to find another alternative to make some sort of change in this social economic system, because it's just not working, and that's just a harsh reality of what it is right now, So the thing is, people always ask the question, like, how can we afford it? How can we actually afford giving a guaranteed income to every citizen who's 18 and over? Well, to be honest with you, although people put as a bad stigma behind it, the welfare system, but we currently pay about $500-600 billion a year for those programs. So we are spending money in order to basically help people who are in need, but still, we still have a poverty rate that's just it's just through the roof, and it's just going to get worse with the system that we live in, because capitalism, it definitely helped a lot of people at the beginning, but we see the downfall of capitalism today. And to look at the income gap rate between the rich and the poor is just it just goes beyond my belief. Like, I just can't even believe it. There's just no way. I look at the numbers and like, how could how could this be possible? How this happened? You got the three people that has the same amount of wealth of the bottom 150 million people that live in this country. So things like that definitely have to ring alarms, So, I asked the question, what does it mean to be sustainable? What does it mean to create a positive public health? What does it mean to create a ecological stability where we're not violating what is called the dynamic equilibrium? Where we're not damaging the ozone layer for profit, creating climate change. Where you're not running coal plants to generate electricity because all the coal is creating mercury into the atmosphere, so then it could just drop down when it rains to the ocean to poison it. Things like that. That's what I asked people. What does it mean to be sustainable? And, many people just get a little, they stumble. They stumble a lot when I ask those questions, And I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. The biggest threat to the UBI is the human mind, of us not really thinking differently, because it all begins with your train of thought, and we have to keep an open mind as possible to new information, even if it challenges our sense of identity, because, we are made by culture. What I'm saying? We're born into this world knowing absolutely nothing. All we know is what we've been exposed to, the way we've been taught. And we just can't, we have to be open-minded in everything, So, we live in an economic system that is based on consumption, meaning that, we have to consume in order to keep the economy flowing. But what's going to happen, though, because we see it, and it's going to get, to a point where, listen, automation is a real thing. It's not something that, it's just, there's no, conspiracy behind it. It's not something that, that it's not going to happen. No, it is going to happen. And matter of fact, no, let me kind of like correct myself. It is happening. Automation is happening. AIs are definitely going to take over a lot of the labors that humans are doing right now. But the question is, what's going to happen to those people who are going to be replaced by AIs? And again, we live under a system that we have to earn a living to survive. So that brings the question of what's going to happen to those people that are going to be replaced. So, we got to really, dig deep into this, because, we definitely, the average person doesn't really understand economics. They really don't understand economics. And this is why I'm so passionate to really to talk about this, because I definitely want to inform people of how our economic system works, how it operates. And, it's, like I just said, it's really based on consumption. Like, we have to buy. We have to have money in order to buy things to keep the economy flowing. That's what basically increases our GDP, But if people are unemployed, don't have money to buy, then the economy as we know it is going to collapse. It's going to go down. So, those kind of things we have to be mindful of, And again, as I said, the wealth gap is just increasing. I mean, it's just ridiculous when you look at the wealth gap. But that's been going on since for eons, really, because I mean, all the wealth gap you see today, it's been the cause of the wealth gaps in history. Beginning with slavery. Because slavery was based on economic advantage, where you have groups of people who basically work for free for you. And you keep all the profit. This is why so many families became so rich. This is why America became so rich, because of this idea of slavery. And, we got to really think about it. This system, the main objective of capitalism is basically to explicitly take economic advantage. And any game that is based on advantage is going to create imbalance, and that's just logics. That's, like, to me, common sense. And we see it today. The gap is just ridiculous. And they're predicting by 2050 there's going to be an enormous unemployment crisis, an enormous debt crisis, and it's going to get crazy. And when I say it's going to get crazy, I'm talking about the people. There's going to be a huge uprising across the world because of this, And, we got to really foresee the future and understand that something has to change. And I'm going to speak from my experience because, I mean, listen, I'm a first generation born here from my family. I was brought up in poverty. We were living under the welfare system. And me as a kid, I mean, growing up in East Harlem in the projects and understanding, my position of looking around my surroundings, where I could literally walk one block to Fifth Avenue, Central Park, and it's like I felt like I just walked into a whole different dimension, and that's when I started to really question the system itself. Like, something is not right. To me, basically it doesn't add up. So I'm like, when I talk about things like this, I'm talking from experience. Things that I actually witnessed. And we are we live in a system that we are required to earn a living so we can have access to the basic necessities in order to survive in this planet. And by the way, we are the only species that have to earn a living in order to survive in this planet. And me growing up, I only imagine as a kid, how far people can go with their lives if they never had any financial obligations to meet their needs, where they don't have to work 50 hours plus a week, so they could, in return get money, so they could basically pay for a place that they only stay there for 10 hours. A day. And matter of fact, I'm not even going to include 10 hours because the 8 hours is going to sleep. Like me as a kid, I was just thinking things like that. And, I just couldn't understand it. So, things like that, man, like it just makes me wonder a lot. But I would say now that, today, the way we live today, especially with technology, that's definitely changed our lives, made our lives a lot more easier for us to live. Why not use that to basically reduce our work hours and still maintain the lifestyle, or even, improve and enhance our lifestyle, really, because that's what it is. And technology really is basically there to basically enhance our life, as in a way to increase our life, to make it better, to make it easier, and one thing I always say is that the majority of the population are not living to their fullest potential because they're so basically, trapped into these financial obligations where they have to make ends meet. And it's just, to me, it's a sad thing to see, because so many people, I think, have so much potential, so many things they can do, that they can offer, but yet, they're still trapped within this system that they have to basically, do what it takes just to barely make ends meet. And it's very unfortunate. And this is why I'm such an advocate for the UBI, because I strongly believe that the UBI definitely alleviates a lot of the problems that many people are going through right now, where they don't have to have that worry of just knowing that I got to make sure that I'm able to earn this because I need to pay my rent, I need to pay this, all these bills I have on top of me. I think having a UBI frees people from the worry of making ends meet. And once you have a guaranteed income that takes care of your basic needs, that alleviates a lot of the socioeconomic problems that you're going through. I mean, that's just common sense. That's something that just, it's just self-explanatory. So, and it promotes a more healthier life. I think the UBI is the ultimate conclusion to the Industrial Revolution. It helps us recognize that we are all one human family. We're all one. And we got, even billionaires are talking about the UBI. Elon Musk, these are people that are definitely, are for the UBI. Recently I just read about Barack Obama, who just, said that he's for the UBI. And it's not to say that the UBI is a solution, okay? Because it's not a solution to the issues that we're going through right now. But it definitely helps us eliminate a lot of the problems that are occurring right now in this country. So I look at it as a step forward, the UBI. And at one time there was going to be a bill that was going to be passed. It was called the Family Assistance Plan by, believe it or not, President Nixon. Which basically, if you had a family, you would get an income. But I think the bill didn't pass because the Democrats felt that the income was not high enough. So unfortunately, that bill was not passed. But again, this idea of creating a guaranteed income was not something that just came out the blue. It's something that was been talked about for years, And again, me as a person that was brought up in the welfare public assistance program, this thing, it helped me in ways, but then again, it wasn't enough because, it was 6 of us